There have been many great empires, and each one was able to achieve military supremacy by developing a unique group of elite warriors who frightened their enemies. They were all great warriors who had fought many battles and were dominant during their period. In this video, I will focus on the 7 most elite forces in history. But before we go ahead, make sure that you are subscribed to our channel. 7. Hoplite. From the 7th century BC to the 4th century BC, the hoplite was the most common type of heavily armed foot soldier in ancient Greece. Most people who lived in Greek city-states and had enough money were expected to be ready to serve as hoplites if needed. A hoplite infantryman relied on a long ashwood spear and a short sword for combat. The average spear length was 8 feet, and it had a bronze or iron blade with a 4-sided end spike. The blade of the sword, which was typically no longer than 60 centimeters, was also made of iron. 6. Immortals. The 10,000 immortals were the elite force of the Persian army of the Achaemenid Empire between the 550 and 330 BCE period. They formed the king's personal bodyguard and were also considered the shock troops of the infantry in Persian warfare. They are among the most famous fighting forces of the ancient world. Their name comes from the fact that they always had exactly 10,000 members. If one of them died or couldn't do his job, another was chosen to take his place, giving the impression that they couldn't be killed and were therefore immortal and unbeatable. 5. Praetorians. The Praetorians were a small escort who served to protect a military leader, general, or governor during the Republic. The Praetorium was the tent where the commander would make decisions. The civil wars in Rome saw this small force expand as each leader amassed a sizable personal bodyguard. During the Roman Republic, the Praetorian Guard served as the personal bodyguard of a commander. And during Imperial Rome's rule, this elite force was tasked with defending the emperor and the city itself. Due to the Guard's growing power and influence over the years, emperors had to win the group's favor in order to maintain their thrones. 4. Samurai. The government system of military service in Japan was ended in 792, and so in the following Heian period, from 794 to 1185, private armies were formed in order to protect the landed interests of nobles who spent most of their time away at the imperial court. This was the beginning of the samurai, a name meaning attendant, while the verb samurai means to serve. And so the term was originally one of class rather than the military profession it later came to signify. There were other classes of warriors too, but the samurai class was the only one with a connotation of serving the imperial court. 3. Knight. A knight is a person who has been given the honorary title knight by a monarch, church, or government official, usually for outstanding military service to the monarch, church, or nation in question. Becoming a knight necessitated an aristocratic upbringing, extensive training beginning at an early age, access to resources such as weapons, horses, and squires, and an understanding of the code of chivalry. To get to the top of medieval society, it was helpful to be able to recite poetry and songs, look good, wear expensive clothes, have a striking coat of arms, and come from a noble family. However, none of these things were required. On the medieval battlefield, knights were the most feared and well-protected warriors, and in everyday life, they were among the most well-dressed and polite members of society. But as the Middle Ages went on, it became harder and harder to get to this level because the elite were determined to keep it for themselves. 2. Sacred Band. The Theban army's elite sacred band consisted of about 300 men. Among them were about 150 gay male couples. They were put together by Gorgidas, but General Pelopidas was the one who made them famous. They were unbeaten until the year 338 BC, when the combined forces of Thebes and Athens were crushed by the Macedonians under Philippi from 359 to 336 BC, and his son Alexander from 336 to 323 BC. 1. Janissary. The Janissary were the elite force of the Ottoman Empire. The Janissaries were in effect slaves, but they had the potential for advancement, and some of their members served as the Sultan's bodyguard. The Janissary had become a privileged class, no longer composed of subjugated people. They were like the Praetorian Guard in that they could make or break a king or queen. Similar to the samurai, they were highly disciplined and devoted to their cause. They took it a step further by rejecting marriage in favor of celibacy. However, a man was not accepted into the Janissary force on his own volition. The order came from the Devzimi, a gathering system in which Ottoman officials would go to the villages of Christians they had conquered and take a boy as tribute from every 40 households. These young men embraced Islam and found gainful employment. After a certain period of time, they would be given specific assignments within the armed forces or government. If you enjoyed today's video, then feel free to smash the like button and subscribe to our channel.